I made two huge mistakes breeding shrimp, and here's what I learned. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Ray and this is RW Aquarium Pages. I've been keeping and breeding shrimp for over 20 years now, and in that time I've learned a lot. And today I want to share with you the two huge mistakes I made this year in my shrimp keeping journey. Mistakes that really made me take a step back and to reevaluate my approach. For those of you who don't know me, I started shrimp keeping back in the early 2000s, and over the years I've had the privilege of successfully breeding all types of shrimp: Caridina, and even Silurian shrimp. I haven't ventured into Caridina yet, but it's definitely on my list. Keeping shrimp has been an amazing journey, and I've learned so much from my success and also my failures. Speaking of which, this past year has been a real eye-opener for me in terms of mistakes I've made. Let me walk you through what happened. Mistake number 1, selling too much. This first mistake I made was selling too much shrimp at once. Now I know that a lot of us get excited when our colonies start to grow, and it's tempting to sell off a lot of shrimp to make space and to make some money. But here's what happened. In one of my tanks, I had a colony of about 100 shrimp. I took up about 40 or 50 to sell, and thinking I just need to thin the herd. But unfortunately, the colony didn't bounce back the way I expected. Sometimes the shrimp would recover, but other times, not so much. What I realized was that it's definitely important to remove culls or unwanted shrimp to prevent overcrowding. You've got to be careful not to take out too much at once. Shrimp colonies thrive on balance, and removing too many at once can really throw that off. So my advice here is, if you're breeding shrimp, be mindful of how much you're selling or moving around. It's not just about freeing up space, it's about keeping that balance that the remaining shrimp feel comfortable and continue to breed successfully. This was my first big lesson of the year. Mistake number 2, overcrowding. The second mistake, and this one is a biggie, was overcrowding. Now if you've been breeding shrimp for a while, you know that the tank size really matters. For me, I usually work with 10 gallon or about 40 liter aquariums. I start off with about 20 to 25 juvenile shrimp of the highest quality that I can find and let them breed out naturally. However, as the shrimp grow and breed, the colony eventually surpasses 100 shrimp, and that's when things start to go downhill. In smaller tanks, once you get to that size, the space starts to feel cramped. The breeding slows down, and in the worst case scenario, I've seen males become aggressive and start hunting down females. This is especially common in certain species like the tiger shrimp. It can be brutal, and it really caught me off guard at first. To fix the overcrowding issue, I've decided to adopt some of the techniques I've seen used by Asian breeders. Their approach: one tank for breeding, and then a separate grow-out tank for the babies. It makes a huge difference. That way, the adults can keep breeding without worrying about space constraints, and the baby shrimp will have their own space to grow out without the risk of overcrowding. The bigger goal: quality over quantity. Ultimately, my goal is to breed more shrimp, but not just for the sake of quantity. I want to focus on breeding better quality shrimp, especially since I'm managing 23 types of shrimp in my collection. It's a bit overwhelming, and honestly, I struggle to figure out which strains I want to keep continuing working with. So if you're in a similar situation, I'd love to hear your thoughts. How do you decide which strains to focus on? Let me know in the comments. A conversation with a friend. Speaking of decisions, I was chatting with my buddy Gord the other day, and he brought up the idea I've been seriously considering: using 40-gallon breeder tanks for grow-out tanks. I've seen a lot of Taiwan and Singapore shrimp breeders use tanks of that size, and it makes sense for creating more space for the shrimp to grow out without overcrowding. But here's the thing: 40-gallon tanks take up a lot of space, and right now I don't have the room for a full rack of them. My shrimp tanks are spread out to a few designated spots in my home, and honestly, I'm not sure if I want shrimp tanks in every room. Or do I? Anyway, those are the two big mistakes from this year, and I'm learning from them. Shrimp keeping is always smooth sailing, but it's always a fun challenge. Now I want to hear from you. What are some of your biggest failures in shrimp keeping? What mistakes have you made and what have you learned from them? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and let's get a conversation going. We're all here to learn from each other. Thanks for watching and listening to my rambles. There'll be more videos on shrimp keeping tips and updates on my journey. Catch you in the next video.